Welcome into week 3 of the Victory Road League between the Toronto Staraptors and the Victory Road League between the Toronto Staraptors and the San Jose Chomps. Toronto bringing in Dragonite, Incineroar, Basque Legion, Sinistcha, Pelipper, and Archaludon. And San Jose bringing in Blastoise, Aerodactyl, Sneasler, Sinistcha, Sylveon, and Garchomp. Of course, Toronto suffering a loss last week to the San Diego Drampas. So they are coming in here at an even record of 500 at 1-1. And Levia of the San Jose Chomps coming in 0-2, looking for their first win here in the Victory Road League. Of course, we had a team that came in 0-2, whom got their first win yesterday, being the Seattle Mariners. For points, we have Toronto with 14 so far through 2 weeks, and we have San Jose with 11 points. And what do these two teams decide to do here in week 3? And we are off to the races as these two trainers are looking for their first win. San Jose leading out Aerodactyl and Sneasler. And Toronto's going to lead off their Pelipper Archaludon duo that they seem to do most games here now in the Victory Road League. As we approach which of these trainers is going to be walking out of here with the W, and who is going home still on their losing streak here in the Victory Road League. Of course, this pain of a pest we know to be is this Archaludon. And there goes the Sneasler with the fake out onto the Archaludon. It is going to boost Archaludon's stamina by 1. And the Pelipper is going to use a wide guard. And the Aerodactyl is going to use Tailwind, setting up their team to be faster here. And that leftovers for Archaludon is going to kick it in to back to full health. San Jose having to put up with the rain, which would benefit if they decided to bring their Blastoise here in week 3. But we shall see, folks, what they decide to do. San Jose coming in for a little bit of a background the last 2 weeks. What we have a play here. Here comes a Rock Slide. The Archaludon is going to avoid the attack. The Pelipper is going to take a bit of damage there. And here comes a close combat onto the Archaludon. Does more than half. San Jose coming out. And that's going to drop Sneasler's defense and special defense by 1 and boost Archaludon's defense by 2. But that White Herb for Sneasler is going to return its stats back to normal. And there's a Tailwind on Toronto's side now. And here comes the Electro Shot, which will hit right away due to the fact that rain is set up. A little bit of background for both of these teams as they walk in here. San Jose was defeated by Pittsburgh week 1, and Aerodactyl is going to survive on 1 thanks to that Focus Sash from the Electro Shot. San Jose coming in after 2 weeks of play, losing to San Diego week 1 in a thrilling 3-game match, our first ever 3-game match, and losing to Pittsburgh last week. And then we have Toronto coming in, and they beat Buffalo week 1, but lost to San Diego. So San Diego handing out some early L's amongst some of these teams very early on. But of course, now these two teams going head up. And of course, San Jose is looking for that first win here in the Victory Road League here against Toronto. Toronto looking to bounce back after that defeat against San Diego last week. Aerodactyl coming out for a protect from San Jose's side. And here comes the close combat from the Sneasler. Almost enough to knock it out, leaving it with 13 hit points left. And there's going to be the for sure -1 defense and special defense on Sneasler. And here comes a Hurricane from the Pelipper. And it is enough for a KO, and the first point of this match set belongs to the Toronto Staraptors. And here comes the Archaludon setting up an Electro Shot. going to raise its special attack once again, but due to that protection, a smart read, leftovers will kick in. How does San Jose navigate this? Of course, Toronto coming into week 3, 4th in the league as of right now. And of course, San Jose still hanging in there as they are walking in, sitting at 7th in the league. Of course, standings are due to change after these games tonight, which will be announced by Monday morning. The Sinistcha does come out for San Jose's side, heals the Aerodactyl just a bit. How does San Jose decide to navigate this? The wide guard does come out for the Pelipper. And there's a Rage Powder from the Sinistcha. Rock Slide coming out. And it won't hit due to the protections. Electroshock gonna come out due to the Rage Powder becoming the center of attention for the Sinistcha. It won't hit the Aerodactyl, which is assuming that was Toronto's play here. So a smart read to keep their Aerodactyl alive just for another turn. And that was decent damage due to the fact that now Archaludon is +3 in special attack. So the Tailwind for San Jose is going to peter out, unfortunately, but we still have one more Tailwind up for one more turn and another set of rain for the Toronto Staraptors here. How do these coaches decide to navigate this? And there is the Protect from the Archaludon. And here comes a Muddy Water from the Pelipper. Is enough to knock out the Aerodactyl. So another match point for Toronto here. San Jose just needing to get this Pelipper and this Archaludon off the field. And there is a Life Dew from the Sinistcha, which is going to heal them back up. And the rain luckily is going to stop. Does Toronto decide to do what they've done in the past, which is take the Pelipper out? But that Tailwind luckily is knocked out. And there is that Blastoise that was spoken of here at the beginning of this first set for San Jose. Obviously, San Jose has 3 potential Megas on their team: Aerodactyl, Blastoise, and Garchomp. What Mega do they decide to do? Assuming that this is their last Mon here, this would be the Mega for San Jose. And there it is, the Mega Blastoise for the San Jose Chomps. And the Blastoise is gonna go with a fake out onto the Pelipper, which is gonna make it flinch and can't move for this turn. And here comes a Dragon Pulse onto the Blastoise. It is a one-hit KO and a point to Toronto. And the Matcha Gotcha is going to come out. The Pelipper is going to avoid the attack. It's going to hit the Archaludon. And it leaves it with a burn. That defense just keeps stacking up for the Archaludon and Toronto side. A tall hill to climb for San Jose here. Now, nothing is set up for either side. No tailwinds, no weather effects here. How does San Jose decide to navigate this before we head into our second match? And there it is, the point for Toronto and a match win as we get ourselves set up for our second set in a best of 3 between Toronto and San Jose. All right, folks, and here we are in our second match of our best of 3 between Toronto and San Jose. Toronto and San Jose deciding to bring the same set of Mons that they brought in the first set. Of course, the Pelipper and Archaludon was all Toronto needed to get the job done against San Jose in that first set. The key contributors of the Pelipper and the Archaludon was due to that rain, the wide guard, and of course, Archaludon's special ability, or main ability, being stamina, which every time it is hit, of course, you boost its defense by 1. And we are underway now with match 2 between these two of a best of 3. How does San Jose bounce back? And there is the Aerodactyl and Blastoise, and there is the Archaludon and Pelipper for Toronto. And there's that Drizzle that is going to be set up for 5 total turns. How do these teams decide to navigate this is the question, especially if you're on San Jose's side, to push this to a Game 3 and try to get your first win here in Week 3 of the Victory Road League. Of course, we just want to say thank you to all viewers for tuning in live on Twitch here for our Victory Road League matches. And there it is, the Blastoise side coming out for San Jose side, the Mega Blastoise right away. You want to try to deal with this Archaludon as soon as possible. And there is the instant protect for the Archaludon. And there is a Tailwind from the Aerodactyl. And Blastoise is going to use Ice Beam, not effective due to the protect, and there's a Tailwind on the Pelipper for Toronto, as we saw in the first set. Of course, in that first set, Toronto was able to get a 5-point advantage. San Jose picking up nothing, so you got to hope that San Jose can take this to a third match and pick up some points here. And there's the withdrawal of the Aerodactyl, and comes out the Garchomp. Blastoise is going to use Protect on itself. And the Pelipper is going to use Wide Guard. So a lot of Wide Guard play here in Week 3 for Toronto. And here comes the Electroshock coming out for the Archaludon. Presumably going to try to go for the Blastoise here. And it does, and the protection luckily protects their San Jose's Blastoise right away. What do these trainers decide to do here in Week 3? Toronto looking to bounce back after their loss to San Diego. Of course, San Jose looking to get their first win here in the Victory Road League. And there comes a incoming Rock Slide from the Garchomp. Does decent damage onto the Pelipper. And there is the stamina boost from the Archaludon. The Pelipper is going to use Muddy Water. The Garchomp is going to avoid the attack, only hitting the Blastoise, which is going to do decent damage due to the rain, but it usually is not effective. And there's Blastoise with the Ice Beam onto the Pelipper, and there it is, the first point here in match number 2 between Toronto and San Jose for the Chomps. Here comes the Electroshock coming out for the Archaludon, presuming that it is going to go for the Blastoise. It is now +2 in special attack. It's going to hit, and it is enough to take it out. That is another point for Toronto. But good for San Jose to get the Pelipper out right away. Now you have to deal with this Archaludon as fast as humanly possible, while depending on what Toronto decided to bring here. As we've only seen the Archaludon and Pelipper duo through the first pretty much half of this match of these two teams. And there it is, folks. Aerodactyl sent back out for the Chomps, and there is the Dragonite for the Staraptors. So if there's any berries to be eaten, you cannot. Tailwind's still set up for both sides. Rain has 2 more turns. Unfortunate for San Jose here due to the fact that their Blastoise had Ice Beam, which would have been effective for the Dragonite. How does San Jose decide to navigate this Dragonite, especially if they Mega Evolve? They're going to withdraw their Garchomp and send out their Sneasler. And the Aerodactyl is going to use Protect. Dragonite is also going to use Protect from Toronto's behalf. And here comes the Electro Shot, assuming that they're going for what would be presumably the Aerodactyl spot. So a good read on San Jose's side for the protection, keeping their Aerodactyl alive. And now that Archaludon is back to full health, and both trainers' tailwinds will teeter out, excuse me. San Jose not done just yet here as they try to get themselves to a game 3 between these two squads. And there is the Mega Dragonite coming out for the Toronto Staraptors. The Archaludon is going to use Protect. And here comes a Rock Slide from the Aerodactyl. Will not hit the Archaludon, but for sure will hit this Mega Dragonite and does decent damage. Sneasler going to use U-turn onto the Dragonite, withdrawing themselves and bringing out Garchomp. And the Dragonite is going to flinch. The rain will stop. So a lucky play for the San Jose Chomps here. How do they decide to navigate this Mega Dragonite that is on the field? Of course, the Archaludon a little bit more ineffective, as if they decide to use Electro Shot, they will need it. The Garchomp is going to use Earthquake, isn't going to affect the Dragonite nor their Aerodactyl, but is going to hit this Archaludon. It's going to boost its stamina once more, and there's the Rock Slide. You have the Archaludon right back on its toes. 34 hit points that remain, 98 or 34 for the Dragonite, and the Dragonite is gonna flinch once again. Incoming a Flash Cannon from the Archaludon, going to leave San Jose's Aerodactyl on one. Of course, that Focus Sash, excuse me, comes in handy. And the leftovers is able to take the Archaludon back to over just a little over half health here. What do these two teams decide to do here in our week 3 matchup? Both teams desperate for a win after serious losses through the last couple weeks. And there is the Protect from the Dragonite. Garchomp gonna use Earthquake, of course, wouldn't have hit the Dragonite regardless, doesn't affect the Aerodactyl, and there it is. It's gonna hit and leave Archaludon down to 62 hit points. That defense just keeps stacking itself up. Aerodactyl with the Rock Slide will not hit this Dragonite, will for sure hit this Archaludon, and only does 2 hit points. And that defense just keeps stacking itself up. And there's the Flash Cannon, good enough to knock out the Aerodactyl, and another point for Toronto's behalf. San Jose on to its last 2 Pokemon, this Garchomp and now Sneasler. Dragonite low, Archaludon low. Of course, for Toronto, they only have 1 more Pokemon remaining to deal with for San Jose's end. How do they decide to navigate this is the question. here in our Week 3 matchup of the Victory Road League. Both trainers thinking it out. Unfortunately, if you're on Toronto's end, Protect would work on the Archaludon. They're going to withdraw this Dragonite. And here comes their Sinistcha going to try to heal up this Archaludon to over back health. And there is the instant Protect once again, like I was just discussing. And the Fake Out is going to come out. It does not affect the Sinistcha. And here comes Earthquake. Will not hit the Archaludon. Will hit this Sinistcha. And their own Sneasler. So a point to Toronto due to behalf of what San Jose decided to do there. And all that remains for San Jose is their Garchomp. How do they decide to navigate this is the question that we have here in our first match of day 2. And there it is. There is the Earthquake. Of course, that defense on the Archaludon just keeps stacking up. Of course, isn't going to be as effective onto the Sinistcha. And here comes a Dragon Pulse. And it is good. It is all said and well done. Toronto, you are the winners here in Week 3. And San Jose, unfortunately, is going to fall to 0-3. All right, folks, we have Coach Lindo of the Toronto Staraptors. First of all, congratulations on the win, bouncing back from last week's loss to San Diego. How do you feel?
I feel fucking great. Game series, Toronto has won. Fucking game 7, well, game 2. But yeah, feel great.
For sure. What was your mindset going into this matchup against San Jose?
I definitely did a lot more preparation this week. I watched Levia's past 2 games, and I came up with a strategy. Put in a couple pinch hitters if I needed them to, but yeah, I didn't end up using them too much. But I knew I just had to get rid of his Blastoise, or her Blastoise in this team.
Yeah, for sure.
I just nuked the shit out of it.
Definitely. Now, a question for you, MVP, I would say on my behalf from commentating and watching your matchup, it would be your Archaludon. Would you agree, or would you name somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, I gave it to Archaludon last week, but I think I'm gonna have to give it to Archaludon again for going up to like what, +5, +6.
Yeah.
And just nuking all of his Pokemon. But special shout out to Pelipper. I wasn't expecting Pelipper to knock out like half of her Pokemon in the first round, but yeah. Sorry, I still think I'm fighting Matt. You know, I'm still mulling over that loss.
For sure. Well, congratulations on the win. You pick up a good, decent amount of points. 10 points, putting you at 24 and a 2-1 start. And you walk into next week as we pull up who you will be playing. Give us 1 second. You'll be playing the Pittsburgh Scissors. Of course, they have been known to only use one team through the first 3 weeks here. They're starting off 3-0. What can you tell me early on of what kind of the game plan is against walking in against Pittsburgh?
Definitely gonna try and prep as much as I can, do a lot of research, take a lot of notes, and I'll come up with a strategy coming in, and then just, yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations once again on the win here in Week 3, and we look forward to seeing your matchup against Pittsburgh in Week 4.
Yeah. Also, suck it, Jax.